Hello everyone, this is Kyle from Mill Street Gardens, and today I am potting up our irises for next year. So we had our bare root irises on sale in our bulb display over here, right over there, for the last couple weeks. And we've sold a few of them, but we're gonna pot the rest of them up for sales for the spring next year today. So I thought I'd take you along as I did that. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm going through these pots, and at the nursery we often reuse pots. We have a pot return if you have any nursery pots in your local that you want to give up. We do reuse them, and right now we actually need this size the most to come and trade gallon. So right now I am stickering them with the labels for next year, and for we don't have to worry about that in the spring because that's a very time-consuming process. And I also have the bare irises soaking right now outside, and they've been soaking for like 45 minutes. So by the time I get out there and get everything ready, it'll be about an hour. Alright, so these have been out here soaking for an hour now, so I didn't explain that to you before. These irises, they don't need to be soaked for a very long time because they're like actively growing and they haven't been like stored for that long. So an hour is sufficient. So I'm going to bring this over to my work area over here. And we're potting stuff outside today because it's a really nice, beautiful fall day. So here's my little setup over here. Alright, so the potting process is actually quite simple. It's grabbing, this one says Harvest of Memories, which is kind of a creepy name, Harvesting Memories. And grab the corresponding bulb. As you can see, the roots actually look really dry still, but they're not going to form, these roots aren't going to turn anything. New roots will grow. We can already see them from the bottom of the bulb. So all we're going to do is fill this up most of the way because they don't need to be buried that deep, like this. Kind of almost just tuck him on top almost. So it's the easiest planting ever. And then the iris, the top of the rhizomes like to be outside of the soil, so that's important. And now that I'm thinking about it, I should probably plant it closer to this side of the container because the iris is going to grow out that way. So good thing I just remembered that. There we go, just like that. Also, as I do this, I think it's a good time to let people know that our potting mix is actually not peat based. It is based with hardwood, bark, and compost. And our plants do just fine. You just gotta make sure the potting soil is just well draining, but not too well draining. So there's a fine line between that when you're creating your mix or whatever. And also most of our pots, as you can see, are reused. So we take great pride in that, in reducing plastics in the nursery business, as well as using some potting mixes. Now, honestly, I think the plants grow better and is better for the environment. Alright, so next we're just going to get these plants watered in, not because they need any water, just to settle the soil around them, kind of clean the dirt off the blades. Do that real quick. And now I'm actually going to take these guys and stick them in the hoop house. Now, the reason I'm putting them in the hoop house is fall has finally come. It's been a really warm late summer and really warm early fall, but now it's starting to get chilly. Like today's the highs are only in the 60s, and I just want to make sure that the soil temperature of these things is getting warm enough to get some rooting action, because we're not planting these in the ground or anything. These are in pots, so if it doesn't get warm enough, they're not going to do anything. So I'm going to get these guys in here real quick. Alright, so we got all of our irises in here. It's very warm. It feels like summer in here, and just right out there feels like fall. It's quite nice. I put some over here because I moved some blueberry cuttings back here this morning. I'm using the irises to kind of protect them from getting the blazing afternoon sun. I took those cuttings earlier this summer, and it's been a couple months they haven't done anything, so I think it might be a temperature and light issue. So I was hoping by moving it inside the hoop house for these last couple of weeks of warm-ish temperature, we might get some rooting action. So now I'm going to show you the irises that we planted out in the showcase garden a couple of weeks ago. These are the same varieties. The yellow one, which is the Harvest of Memories, which is fragrant, which I'm really excited about, as well as the Presby Crown Jewel, which is the one that has like a purplish or bluish fringe or edge to the flower, and the inside of it is white. I think we'll do a tour of the showcase garden soon, because we didn't do one last month. But we got lots of cool new things happening, like this daisy blooming over here, and this persicaria plant, which has been blooming non-stop, which is really cool. But not to get too distracted, because that's really easy to do in the garden. Speaking of distractions, is this beautiful aster right next to our irises. So they don't look like much right now. So we want the rhizome to be exposed to the sun. And it actually has gotten buried over the course of a couple of weeks, so I'm going to try to re-expose the tops of those. But they're actually starting to put on a lot of new growth, so that's really cool to see. And I planted the two varieties right next to each other, so I'm hoping to see that happening in the pots, the new growth and the rooting into the ground. If you tug them, they're not coming out of the ground. Also, some final thoughts. I'm not fertilizing the irises like I normally do when I pot up a plant, because it's just so late in the season. I'm not going to bother doing that, but come late, like March or in April, I'll throw some slow release fertilizer on them so they can start feeding on the fertilizer. So right now I just want them to root in, and then in a couple weeks, once they're starting to root in, I'll move them into our overwintering hoops, which are over here. One of them I use for overwintering, and that's where it will live through the rest of the winter. And you know, we'll have to protect it from rodents and that type of stuff. But come next spring, if everything happens right and there's no like rotting or animal attacks, then the irises should flush out and be beautiful next year. So that's what we're hoping for. Anyways, thank you for watching the video today. If you have any questions or comments, leave it in the message section below.